Our gospel for this Sunday comes to us from John, the 15th chapter. Jesus said, "As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. I have said these things to you so that by my joy might be in you, and that your joy may be complete. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you. I do not call you servants any longer, because the servant does not know what the master is doing, but I have called you friends, because I have made known to you everything that I have heard from my Father. You did not choose me, but I chose you, and I appointed you to go and bear fruit, fruit that will last, so that the Father will give you whatever you ask him in my name. I am giving you these commands, so that you may love one another." This is the word of the Lord. Praise to you, O Christ. You may be seated. But I would like to invite the children forward. Kids. Okay. And I'm going to need some help from the choir for this lesson too, children's lesson. Judy, you got your part. Okay. This is going to take some imagination. What's up, Thomas? Oh, no, we're doing the children's sermon right away here. This is the whole point. What's up, Jackson? Okay, so here's what I'm going to have to ask you to imagine. You are out to sea. You are on a ship. It's floating in the water. Okay, can I get a captain? Who's captain? Who's captain of this ship? Oldest. Okay, yep. We'll definitely be wanting to take turns. Okay, so two different scenarios. So imagine you hear the seabirds. There we go, good. Yeah, I hear them. I hear the seagulls. There they go. The water is going up and down. Shh, yes, very good. Very good. What else do you have? You can feel the way the waves are running and rushing. And some of you are, of course, going to get a little wet, too. You're going to get wet because the sea foam sprays on you. Oh, yep. Okay, you hear your captain call, and he issues forth orders. Jackson, what's the first order? What are you ordering us to do? Raise the sails. Okay. Oh yeah, we could raise the sails. What else is he telling us to do? Get below deck, everybody. And do we listen to our captain? Oh, of course we do. What kind of ship are we sailing? Oh, it's a cargo ship. Very good. You must listen to the orders of your cargo ship. Okay. You're going to say that too. You're delivering food. Very important. Okay. You're delivering it to a shelter. This is a great scenario. Okay. But it's very important that we listen to the commands. Our captain has ordered it. We must do it. I want to come up with another scenario now. Thomas, we're not going to probably get to the raising and lowering. Oh, you got it? Okay, so again, we are at sea. Whoosh, the waves are coming up. Oh, okay, I might have a little bit more water in here to get on you. You can feel it. There's still seagulls, but this time, we are not on a cargo ship. We're on a pirate ship. And I'll be your captain. Give me this. Give me the wheel. Hey. All right, mateys. We've got a decision to make. We've got, oh, yes. We've got a decision to make, and we're going to make it as a crew because we're a proto-democracy, and this is actually really the way pirates worked, believe it or not. They actually had votes on what they were going to do, and they made decisions together, and they chose to share all the plunder all together, and this is a very, very different way of thinking about a captain. Is it coming down? I could hook this on there, actually. It'd be kind of cool. This is the Advent wreath that sits on here. Oh, yeah, you should probably put that up now, Thomas. You're going to lose it otherwise. So my question is, Jesus is our captain, but what kind of captain is he? from the first lesson or the second one? Jesus is our captain. Does he captain us the way that the first one does, giving us orders that we have to follow? There's no room for us to do anything wrong. We have to do it exactly right, or else we're cast overboard. Or are we in the second camp, where Jesus actually wants us? Yeah, that's right. Well, the pirate ship is what I was in charge of. Which one do you guys think? Which one? When Jesus says that he's going to give us a commandment, is it the kind of commandment that actually involves us and our? Yeah, go ahead, Jenna. What do you think? Yeah, believe it or not, in this version of things, Jesus is kind of more like a pirate. Believe it or not. Don't extend that metaphor too far, though. Careful with it. But nevertheless, we are all doing this thing together, this journey as Christians, and I'm so happy that we have Jesus who gives us the command to love one another. And it's not the kind of command that you just have to salute and say obey, but it's the kind of command that actually changes you from the inside. And a lot of the things that we do as a church are based on the things that really get us excited, the ways in which we want to love one another, that are our own interests. And as you guys grow, I think that's going to be really important. And I know that pirates was your interest, and Thomas told me at the bus stop that we had to do this lesson, so thank you for the idea. The other thing we are all children of God, and I want you to know that through the song that we sing. You ready? If anybody asks you who I am, who I am, who I am, if anybody... You're a crab? What's that? Maybe you want to save it for after the service? Yeah, that's a good point. Would you join me in prayer? O Lord, may the meditations of my heart and the words of my mouth be acceptable to you, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Amen. Apropos to the children's sermon, you really can't order somebody to love one another. I can't point a finger at Chuck Pollard, he's not here today, but I wish he was, and say, Chuck, I command you, sit by your wife's bedside as she slips into a coma, and go every single day, and hold her hand every single day, and pray over her every single day, until one day, in one prayer, she squeezes back. He did that. He's an amazing guy. And if I were to later say, you did that because I told you to, he would say, it's not the way love works. And Jesus knows this. And nevertheless, the way that John remembers it is, today I give you this command to love one another the way that I have loved you. Commands and love seem to be in opposition to one another. In fact, it seems to be that one of the key things about love is its wild freedom. This is why all of the best Shakespearean stories on back have to do with people whose love is actually rather inconvenient. It goes against their social convention, it goes against an arranged marriage of some sort. It really screws things up, but love is free. And love seems to be the one making the decisions, not us. So what is going on with the command to love? Obviously, it's an imperfect metaphor, but it does get at something. I think you can say right off the bat that it is absolutely important. It is an obligation that we love one another. It was something that Jesus did not shrink from, absolutely. But it's different in some meaningful ways. It's different than servanthood love, different than the kind of commands that a servant might follow, Jesus says. Instead, it is much freer the way we might have a friend. So let's talk about this a little bit. So within the life of the church, especially the Lutheran church, you may have noticed a pattern if you ever looked at a map. You look at a map and you say, Lutheranism as a phenomenon looks like it kind of goes halfway through Germany, right? And then it goes on up into the Scandinavian countries, and then you would have a hard time sort of tracking it globally by saying, We've got a lot of presence in East Africa, where there were German colonies. We have a lot of presence in North America, where Germans and Scandinavians settled, where it was pleasantly cold enough they could still be ice fishing and enjoying themselves, right? Not too far from here. And that's kind of the extent of it. And yet, I don't know about you, but when I hear the message that's central, that's core to the church, the message of grace, unearned, full grace, forgiveness for you, wholeness for you, not on account of anything you have done, attested to in Scripture, buttressed by tradition, absolutely core to all that, I think to myself, that's a really profoundly good message. That message ought to, on its own legs, stand up, right? How is it that we can look at a map and constrain Lutheranism to these spots when the ideas of it seem pretty profoundly universal and awfully good? Another way to say is, in the historical narrative, why did it not happen that the entire church over the whole world was renewed and turned into a church that was based primarily on grace and no longer on the works? Well, the name for why this happens this way is called territorialization. And you'll see the word territory in there. And it should be obvious that the way that ideas propagate is whether or not they're allowed to, right? There are certain constraints to this. And those constraints are based on who's in charge. Who issues the orders around here? Where are the commands coming from? And it is, unfortunately, very possible for rulers in various places to suppress ideas and to keep them from becoming mainstream. And this is what we call territorialization. Now, territorialization is not a simple phenomenon. You might just simply say, well, it makes sense in the medieval area. The king says it. That was literally the rule, following the 30 Years' War, was if the king says that this is what we're going to do, that's going to be the religion of the land. But it gets far more complicated than that. Territorialization has implications for, simply speaking, how far do the communication devices that propagate ideas get to go? It was effective that Lutheranism was using a printing press because they got ideas farther in quicker time than ever before. But even that, there was an extent to which it couldn't go any farther. There was still geographic limits these are physical limits. These are founded in the real world. When the Enlightenment rolls around, drawing from the ideas of the Reformation, this becomes something that people really want to undo. There becomes a movement to deterritorialize. The Enlightenment's all about reason and all about human capacity for thought. And they said that's really where things should be. That's what people should be, as Rousseau said, man is born free, yet everywhere he is in chains, right? Cast off the chains. We should be free people, free to use our own legitimacy to form governments, free to use our own brains to learn knowledge, free from superstition, free from all of these things. How do we do that? Well, we must deterritorialize. We must get ourselves out from under the boot of all of these forces. That proved to be difficult. The more we found out about this dream of deterritorialization, the more difficult we found it to be. So, in the information age, there was a wonderful dream that I think was born out of the Enlightenment, that now because we have the internet, now because we have global networks of connectivity, there will be no way for us to stop the free flow of this information. The free flow. There's no ruler anymore, right? There's no commander who can say no to any ideas propagating. But of course, that's not the way it happened, right? The internet is not a place of the free exchange of ideas in totality. There's plenty of constraints that are still on there. In fact, if anything, we have learned more as time has gone on about what sort of things do constrain us into territories and keep us in certain ways of thinking and keep us really from being our full selves. There's a reason why we started with boats in today's service. The idea that Foucault writes about is that the one deterritorialized place on planet Earth is the ocean, and you get there on a boat. And he goes, you can run this activity as an experiment. If you want to go do something that is territorialized, not allowed in your country, what do? You get on a boat, and you go out to where your country isn't anymore. You go out there to do what? Sign documents? Any of you ever done this before, like gone into international waters and signed it? You shouldn't admit to it. You shouldn't admit to it. But I know you have, Dad. Yeah, I know. Or you've gone out there to conduct ceremonies that otherwise aren't allowed, or to broadcast radio signals that aren't allowed in your country and set up like a pirate radio station out in international waters. All of these things are done because it's a deterritorialized place. There are no commandments that can be issued or followed in that space. So Foucault writes about that, but then he says, even there we have to acknowledge that territorialization isn't a phenomenon just of geography, it's not just a phenomenon of information, we've internalized it. Because I would guess that for each and every one of you, even out at sea, even in your freest possible setting, you would still be constrained by yourself. There are things that we would simply never think to do, maybe good things, maybe there's things that it's good we've got a still small voice that are keeping us from doing, but there are other things in addition that are just a part of this kind of ingrained sense that we might even be our own worst enemy. And we, of course, in the church call this sin, that we are the ones who place the commands to do and to limit ourselves and to keep us from being full, loving agents all over ourselves. What Jesus asks us to do is to deterritorialize in this. Jesus is asking us not only to live into a world where we are not constrained by the powers that be, where we are not constrained by the limitations that we self-impose, but especially we are not constrained by all of the parts of our lives that keep us from truly loving God and loving one another. And it's important that we acknowledge that these things exist really, really close to us if we're going to be honest about what it is to live into all the different things that we hear in today's gospel passage, the peace, the joy, the love. If we are going to be a part of the Trinity, as we are told, that we are going to abide in Jesus the way Jesus abides in the Father, and in this way we would all be part of God and God's self, then there is a fundamental thing that we need to jettison, that we need to cast overboard, shall we say. And I think that it is our selfishness, I think that it is our self-centeredness, but oftentimes it's a little bit of our self-doubt and the things that anchor us instead of into the freedom, they anchor us into ourselves and don't allow us to be who we ought to be. But I've got good news for you, because you might think to yourself, what am I supposed to do with that? How is myself supposed to combat myself? I am myself. It's a losing battle. I did not choose you, right, God? God chose me. The whole impulse of this deterritorialization must come from and does come from God and God's self. The cross wasn't something I did. Jesus dying up there wasn't something that I had any role in. And any of the commandments that I might follow are only being followed because God first put that love in me and showed me what it looks like to be a follower of Jesus Christ. The cross stands as a testament to what God can do for us if we are chosen, and we've been chosen. Because of this, the commandment is really no commandment at all. The commandment exists inside each of you when you are free and are full of the joy that has been placed there by God. So we give thanks on this day, I guess the way that a pirate might, as we sail these seas together, hoisting our flag together, which is the cross, and giving thanks to the God who has set us on this pathway and given us already the joy and the peace and the love we share with others. Amen.